From Crooks to Coffee Connoisseurs. This company has only one job requirement. You have to be a felon.
I do have a felony background. I was incarcerated for 20 months for misappropriation for financial institution funds.
Amy, who only wants to be known by her first name, is now the plant manager at Second Chance Coffee, a company that gives ex-jailbirds jobs.
You don't want to hand out, you want to hand up. The company gives you a second chance. That's what it's all about.
Big things are brewing in this nondescript office in the quiet little town of Wheaton, Illinois, just outside Chicago. Some of the finest coffee in the world is being roasted by ex-cons, a title that can often make it nearly impossible to find work after release.
You have an employment application in front of you and you start filling it out, and there's a box that you have to check that says that you are incarcerated. And as soon as an employer sees that, interview's over.
People in the business community, people in society in general, tend to be afraid of people who have been in prison.
The inspiration for Second Chance Coffee percolated when Peter Leonard, a software designer, traveled to Brazil on a church mission. There in the jungle, he saw people roasting coffee over an open fire.
It never occurred to me that a human being roasted coffee beans. My experience with coffee was what's in the cup.
Peter brought about 22 pounds of coffee beans home to give away as gifts. He wound up drinking all of it, and when he ran out, resorted to getting his caffeine buzz at the local coffee shop.
The stuff I got at the chain was the worst tasting thing I'd ever put in my mouth. It was vile.
Peter longed for the wonderful, rich, and aromatic coffee of Brazil, so he built his own makeshift coffee roasting machine at home.
I built a roasting drum out of an IKEA shelf and a couple of pots that I riveted onto the side of it, and started to learn how to roast coffee beans.
Neighbors poured into his driveway every Saturday to get a cup of his home brew, and they offered to pay. Around the same time, Peter witnessed a family member hopelessly searching for work after doing time.
It was watching him go through the process of getting released and trying to find work and not being able to get it that was the wake-up call, the thing that got my brain pointed in the direction.
Peter connected the dots. The United States has the largest prison population in the world with 2.2 million adults in custody. The U.S. fuels its addiction to caffeine to the tune of 45 million pounds of coffee each year. He thought, why not marry the two? This time, he brewed up a different plan.
We started with one employee roasting 1/2 of one day a week. We grew tremendously in that first year. We were roasting every day of the week, sometimes overnight, sometimes around the clock. There have been times we've roasted 40 hours straight. Trying to meet demand.
And demand grew. The gourmet grounds are now stocked at farmers markets, high-end grocery stores in the U.S., and sold on the Second Chance Coffee's website.
It's not like baking a cake. It's a very complicated, nuanced process.
Louis Dooley was eager to learn the art of coffee roasting. He spent 15.5 years in prison for attempted murder and armed robbery, and says he survived time in the clink by organizing a prison ministry. But when he got out, there was no salvation.
Life was coming at me 1,000 miles an hour. I can remember the first thing was the internet. When I went to prison, there was no such thing as the internet. And I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what Google was.
Life in the real world proved to be rougher than his structured life behind bars.
There was a stage in life where I just wanted to go back in because I couldn't figure out how to live out here. I really couldn't, and I was trying, and nothing was happening, and the only thing that kept me was my faith.
That faith brought him to the church, where he met Peter, who offered him a job.
I met Louis at a speaking engagement that I had at a church, and he came up to me afterwards and essentially said, "Mr. Leonard, my name is Louis Dooley, and I'm gonna work for you."
When Amy got out of prison 7 years ago, she was in debt, behind on child support, desperate to find a job.
You go home and you think that everything is going to be fine once I get home. And it's not.
After enduring soul-crushing darkness and rejection, finally, a ray of light when Amy got a job in the world of Java.
The journey that I have been on, when you are so low and have everything taken away from you. And you are incarcerated and you are literally living out of a box. Because that's what happens. You are in prison and it's not pretty. Personally, what this job has done for me is it has given me purpose. It has given me back me.
Piece by piece, ex-cons like Amy and Lewis are rebuilding their lives, and Peter has plans to build the business, creating 50 plants across the nation, which will make Second Chance Coffee the biggest post-prison employer in the world.
Our hope for every employee, whether they still work here or graduate here, is that they're able to put their past behind them and work as a productive person in society and are accepted for who they are today.